Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoteric, our continuing series on the Sega Dreamcast, Hikaru, and Naomi, and today we're taking a look at Slashout on the Sega NAOMI. And it's a really unfortunate thing that none of these Spikeout or Slashout mainline games ever came home to consoles, and Slashout is no different. It ran on the Sega NAOMI, it came out in 2000, but it never made its way to the Dreamcast. But it is a really awesome beat-em-up game. It is hard as nails and completely cheap, but when you're not putting quarters in like I'm not here, it really doesn't matter whatsoever. Before we get too far involved in the gameplay though, if you could do me a huge favor, down below hit like and subscribe, and the notification bell definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down there as well. But I absolutely love Spikeout. I've talked about it on my Unported playlist series, and Slashout is no different. The only big change to the game is it's now in a fantasy world setting. The original game was more like a street brawler, and you'll see here right off the top, we're fighting these giant sheep rams that float through midair, and each and every one of the bosses and enemies in this game is going to be strange and unique in its own right. You'll see there a giant rooster is also involved in the fight, and I love the game for just how strange and unique it really is. It's just doing the weirdest things. Now we're fighting a pig who's wearing boxing gloves, and that's not something you see in every game, but it's definitely something you're going to see a lot of in Slashout. Now mechanically, it's like pretty much every other 3D beat 'em up. You have a few moves, you got a few special moves, and you have the ability to freely navigate around the environment. Short of that, from start to finish, it's going to be the exact same thing. Beat up the enemies, break the gate to move to the next area, and at the end you're going to fight a boss. But I love how this game looks. I love the fantasy setting. Here we're in this bright open air kind of European city, and you'll see there there's a butcher shop on the side. There's so much detail and so much unique imagery going on in this game. It's just a blast to look at. Not that you're going to get a chance to look around too much because you have so many enemies to fight. And you'll see that I'm trying to charge my magic up as well. It can be quite hard to use it in the game because if you see there, the boss starts glowing blue. This game weirdly allows enemies to have invulnerabilities to your attacks. If they're glowing blue, you can't damage them. It is one of the cheapest mechanics in any arcade or video game for that matter that I've ever seen, and if I was actually putting quarters into this game in an arcade, I would 100% stop doing it after like 2 lives lost and go play something different. But if you own a Naomi like I do, or if you emulate it, you don't have to worry about that whatsoever. And you'll see here we get into the first boss, and it is that double-headed lion. You think you have a safe spot right in the middle, but those flames are going to catch you, and they're going to give us our first death right there. And I think I probably died like 50 times throughout playing this game, and if I was putting quarters in for each one, it's usually like $1 to play these games, I would have spent the price of buying the game, which is wild to think about playing in an arcade, but maybe I'm not the best at this game either. They are quite challenging, and I haven't played it in a while. But now that we got that two-headed lion down, we're going to break through the gate here as well, and we're going to clear the stage. And this game just loves making you break gates. You can't move to the next area without slashing a door or a gate or anything else like that. But you'll see here, moving on, it's just more of the same fun and incredibly strange thing. We have these top hats with giant teeth trying to bite us, and we have ghosts with ghost masks on them. I don't know what's under the mask. It's kind of like Shy Guy from Mario. Maybe what's underneath there is even more terrifying than what we see. But it's just always evolving, this game. We're fighting skeletons in a graveyard. We've got this blood red sky, and we just came from a fantasy European castle town square. It's just one thing after another, and it's always fun, and it's always innovative, and it's always different. And I do wish this game came to Dreamcast because it would have been an awesome game to play, because things like Zombie Revenge came to the Dreamcast, but things like Slashout never did. And the amount of Naomi games that didn't get ported to Dreamcast is always unfortunate, and that's why I wanted to talk about the Naomi on this Dreamcast series, because they're basically one in the same system. Naomi's just a little more powerful. You'll see here that last skeleton was trying to hide behind that wall. Every once in a while, the arenas will fight you. You can get stuck in them, or you can get juggled back and forth with enemies, and it can feel pretty unfair even for an arcade game, but if you just deal with it, you're going to have a ton of fun. And this gives me a lot of Castlevania vibes here. We're fighting these two disembodied hands with these cuffs, and then we have the marionette in the corner, Donna, as well. I just love this. It looks like it was going to be a Castlevania game, and just recently somebody found Castlevania Resurrection for the Dreamcast. Hopefully that's leaked by now. If not, we'll keep our fingers crossed. But I just love how this area looks, and I just love the whole game. It's unique, it's different, it plays a little bit different than most 3D beat-em-ups, and Sega was really just, maxing out the dial to 11 on just how strange these games really could be. But now that we're moving to the Valley of Manera, I believe that's how you pronounced it, the whole goal was just to get from the start of the area to the end. But I'm going to let you listen to some of the soundtrack. It is quite good, and I'll be back in about a minute and tell you more why if you've never played Slashout, you're totally missing out. But be right back. I love the strange rock music this game gives you in places because it's definitely a fantasy setting. I mean, we're fighting a giant mechanized crab tank right now, but we still get this interesting rock music going on. You'll say I took another KO, and I still don't understand why the designers would have made bosses invulnerable. Like I said earlier, when they're glowing blue, you can't do any damage to them, and it just makes the game that much harder, and I don't mind so much. Like I said earlier, I'm not pumping quarters into it, but it's just a really strange design decision. I can't say that Slashout is the best game ever, especially for putting quarters in it, but it is just a ton of fun, and I miss these type of 3D beat-em-ups. And you'll see there that I thought I was going to sneak around him and attack him, but he just absolutely pummeled me with these giant steam engine powered fists of his. But we do have plenty of special moves to use. You'll see in the top left hand corner, it's empty now, but we had 3 different special attacks, and you definitely want to preserve those for the bosses because it's going to take a lot of their life bar down very quickly. For some reason, breaking the gate every once in a while can be difficult, but that's just kind of part and parcel of the game. But this is the type of 3D beat 'em up that you just don't get anymore. I wish we got more things like this. We've seen a resurgence of 2D beat 'em ups with Paprium, with Streets of Rage 4, but I wish somebody would really give us another modern 3D beat 'em up or a hack and slash 'em up like this is. And again, we're moving on to an entirely different area. We've got pumpkins, we've got Venus flytraps, we've got lizards with swords. You can definitely tell they were being as creative as possible at Sega when they developed this game, because absolutely every enemy that you're going to fight is just going to be weirder than the last. Everything in the backgrounds is strange. We got these giant mushroom huts, and it's just a really fun and unique game to play. And I would say for an arcade game, this is quite long too. It'll take you about from start to finish 45 minutes to an hour to be able to beat the whole thing. And it's not one of the most expensive Naomi cartridges either, so you can definitely pick this up for a decent price if you want to get an original copy. And now we're fighting Evil Eye, and her hair is the weakness. It's going to tell you each boss what their weak spot is. You definitely want to focus on that because you can see there with those special attacks, we got about a third of her life bar down within the first 15 seconds. But what you want to avoid is getting repeatedly hit and juggled by the bosses because they can get you in a situation where it's really hard to get a hit in on them. I had 1 hit left to go, and you're going to see here it takes me 15-20 seconds to get that hit going because I just keep getting bounced back and forth. And the game's definitely going to do that to you, but once you learn the patterns, you get a little better at it. You start playing the game a little bit better too. It is unfortunate that this game never came to the Dreamcast, but it makes logical sense because it was released in 2000, and in 2001 the Dreamcast was basically dead. And while porting from Naomi to Dreamcast wasn't the hardest thing in the world, it does have a little bit more power and more RAM, so it's not the easiest either. But you'll see here, now we're fighting these floating squids with this giant creepy looking mouth, and everything in this game is just kind of slightly gross in a really fantasy setting way, and none of these monsters are things that you would want to see in the real world. But if you're looking for a really good 3D beat 'em up, kind of that classic late 90s, early 2000s style, and you've never played Slashout, I 110% recommend you check it out. It emulates really well in Demule. If you want to buy a Naomi motherboard and a cart, it's not the most expensive thing you're ever going to get, and that squid guy there just got hurricaned into oblivion. But like I said, it's an awesome game. I miss these type of games. Classic, good 3D beat 'em ups are always one of my favorite genres, and this is definitely a great one of them. Just don't get stuck by enemies and juggled back and forth because you're definitely going to lose a life really quickly. Short of that, that's Slashout. It's weird, it's strange, it's unique, the enemies are wild, and it's definitely a game I recommend you playing. Short of that, we will be back next Tuesday with another episode in our Dreamcast Naomi and Hikaru season. But if you guys have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I love chatting with you guys. And like I said earlier, if you could do me a huge favor, share, go down below, hit like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Otherwise, I'm going to send 3 gargoyle dragons to your house and make you hit the bell itself. But like I said earlier, do not get stuck between enemies because you're absolutely just going to get destroyed. Trying to beat these 3 dragons at once, if you don't separate them out and fight them one at a time, becomes absolutely impossible. But short of that, thanks so much for watching, guys. We'll see you next time, and good luck with your dragon fights. Bye-bye.